Hello, good morning. Welcome to today's live stream. A lot of discussion on social media this week has been about the crisis in Year 6 maths teaching and the stresses that teachers are under as they are struggling with quite how bad it is, how far behind their children are, and what the heck to do about that, and just feeling overwhelmed. So that's what this live stream is about today. I live stream every Sunday at 9 a.m. British time. And you can ask me questions live. So if you ask me questions live, they will take priority. Sometimes I pick questions from the previous week up the next week in the live stream if it takes a little bit of work to prepare for them. Okay, so I'm going to focus on England Year 6 because of the pressure of SATs and stuff, and it's my particular context, but hopefully some of this will apply to anyone who's teaching children about this level who are going to be changing schools at the end of this year and wants to make sure that their kids are ready to fly when they go on to big school. Hi, if you're watching, please say hello. If you have any questions, please pop them in the questions box. So this is my overview of things to think about. I suppose first thing is, this is unique. It is incredibly difficult. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that's perfectly reasonable. I've got some suggestions here. I'm not suggesting you're going to be able to do all of them, that it's just a guide for thinking to help you prioritize things just now. Let's get on with it. So you've got your maths lessons in the middle where you're trying to fly through the quick curriculum, and I think they only make sense, hi Mohammed, if you think about the four things that can and should be going on to some extent or another around about them. So the first here, and this is crucial right now, these are your catch-up interventions, and they should be going on in parallel with your teaching. Your school should have money for them. They have to contribute a small amount, but it must be going on. Without this, I don't see how schools can really be coping. So if it's not going on in your school, you really need to push your senior team as much as you can. I know everyone's under massive stress. It's yours to judge the extent to which you can do that. But they make such a difference. So I'm currently teaching 12 of these groups, so I know how it just changes everything. Suddenly this becomes deliverable when you've got this going on round about it. So they're an hour long, typically with 3 children. And what I'm doing, this is a sheet. I'm spending about the first half hour, so that's 20 minutes in practice once you've got them in and got going. On the 4 operations. So this is my large numbers worksheet. All these worksheets are just free to download in the Expert Primary Maths Teaching Facebook group. This one was on large numbers. So I was getting them to say these numbers and helping them to say them and pronounce them correctly, reminding them that with addition, subtraction, multiplication, we start with the ones and work that way. But with division, we started with the largest value digit and work the other way. And then letting them go. And my aim with most of the kids was that they could do the multiplication and subtraction with help and do at least one of these. Now, they are struggling horrendously still. You'll be aware of that. There's all sorts of glitches in their thinking, more than you can cope with as a classroom teacher to sort out. As a tutor working 1 to 3, we cherish the mistakes. This is the place to make the mistakes. And then I can work with children one-to-one as they struggle through and puzzle out their own strategies for doing these questions that work for them. I am not teaching them as an intervention teacher on this. You've already taught them, and you still find that they've got lots of different ways of doing them, and they just need a bit of help to become fluent with the way that they're working on just now. A lot of children are having to write out their times table for multiplication division. If they're multiplying by 9, they have to write that out. Working with that, the more they do it, the more fluent they become at it. Hi, if you've just joined, please say hello. It'd be lovely to hear from you, and if you've any questions, please post them. This possibly a bit difficult for week 1. You judge it. Could most of your children access or at least have a go at this if they're 1 to 3 with a tutor? This was my one the following week, very similar. This is with decimals. And again, I was getting them to pronounce these correctly, say the numbers correctly. And we've got some nasty subtraction with double exchanging going on in there. But it's just created a focus for that work. That then leaves the second half of the session, the intervention session, where I've been teaching ahead for the topics that are coming. So fractions is coming up. The children I've been working with we have at least done what fractions are, changing top-heavy fractions, improper fractions into mixed numbers, and really visualising what's going on. So they will feel much more like a normal class when the teacher comes to teach that topic than if the intervention hadn't been going on. Also doing a lot of work on very simple, practical work that's been missed. So length, can you picture a millimetre, a centimetre, a metre? Do you see it? Can you see it? We're staring at rulers. Can you jump a metre? Really internalising those lengths. Children haven't got them. Using a ruler, little tasks like that. So the second half of the session is broken into short objectives, changing task frequently. And if you're behind, you might be able to hive off some topics where the intervention teacher can teach those topics to help you catch up. And your very able children who aren't getting the intervention can probably do it very quickly for homework anyway. So that's how we try and catch up. And without your intervention teaching, I have no idea how people are coping if they're in really challenging circumstances. Another typical topic for this is using protractors. That's a great one for the intervention teacher to teach because they're 1 to 3. In fact, I'm juggling these groups. If I've got 3 3s, I might combine them into a 5 and a 4, where one group is flying and one session a week's absolutely fine for them and the other group isn't, and I'm seeing them twice instead of once. Moving on, in the next few weeks, I'm going to be doing fractions of amounts, and I might do things like, once children have got the hang of it, find 11 23rds of an amount, so they're practicing their long multiplication and division for the children who are ready for that, while the children who aren't are working on simpler challenges. I'll also be giving them some similar questions to these where they're not set out and they've got to set them out themselves. So that's your intervention. That is part of the picture here. It should be going on. If it's not going on, I'd love to know how you're coping if you're in challenging circumstances, because you must be amazing to be coping at all. Any teacher who is still standing is amazing, but any teacher who's standing without this intervention going on, goodness gracious me. Homework, don't forget your homework. I know it's overwhelming to puzzle out what to set because so many children are so far behind, it's really difficult to set meaningful homework. You can set homework that's just simple consolidation, simple work for fluency. It still matters, it still helps. Maybe a bit of measure work at home if you're doing capacity, mention capacity. Can you go home and write down some things and what their capacity is in millilitres or litres? That's worth doing because if they do it, it's a brilliant bonus, and if they don't, it's not disastrous. Your gifted and talented kids, the kids who've flown with everything and are up to speed despite home learning, you can set them homework to make sure they cover the whole curriculum if you're not going to be able to cover it in class. If they've managed to keep up to date so far, then they deserve to have access to the materials to allow them to have a chance of doing that through Year 6 as well. Oh, I meant to say, in the intervention, if you've got children who after 4 or 5 sessions do not deeply understand what they're doing with 2-digit column addition and subtraction, they just don't really know what's going on. Either they can't correspondence count or they've got medical needs going on that's barring that. They don't belong in there after their time has been worn up, their allocated time that's budgeted for them has gone. It's very easy for this to become an SEN thing, and it mustn't if it's going to function. Your SEN kids, of course, do need the usual attention, and we're all miles behind with diagnoses and accreditation, but they need that in place before they go to secondary school if they need it. So just a nudge on that. I know it's overwhelming. I know how hard it is. Okay. So what about things we can do in other lessons? So in PE, just fun activities where kids make shapes. If they've got ropes, skipping ropes, you can get them into small groups and they have to put their hands on the ropes to make different shapes. Might they walk or run a kilometre or a mile to get a really good understanding of what a kilometre and a mile is? It's the kind of thing that might have happened in Year 4 or Year 5, but probably hasn't because of COVID. That's a wonderful thing to do. In art, you can do all sorts of things in art and design and all that are really meaningful. I think art is a great place for them to get fluent with pairs of compasses, maybe just drawing concentric circles or doing the circle patterns where you start there and then you put your point of your pair of compasses on there and draw a circle like that, and then you put it on there and draw a circle like that, and you get beautiful flowers. What else? Children can design when you get onto regular polygons and you're finding that there's 120 degrees in there. I know it sounds impossible, but maybe even if you just touch on it, you could get children carefully drawing, cutting out, designing a box that's a hexagonal prism. So you're covering nets, they'll be using protractors, they'll be using their rulers. Loads of great things going on there as they design if you do a rough sketch and then they have to draw it really accurately. There's some lovely stuff in that. What else have we got here? Scale drawing. Maybe you could do some scale drawing in geography, or find a context for doing that that's really relevant to maths. Time, can you embed that in your day? Telling the time. If you can get children telling the time, it's so useful at this stage. Cookery, if you're doing any cookery, weight, capacity, all that is in there, and you can reference back the maths that there are 1,000 grams in a kilogram and make those links to keep those other subjects going on, but also tick some boxes off parts of the maths curriculum that they need to have had exposure to before they go to secondary school. And then in a bit, you should have your normal revision classes coming up. And if children are getting this and are getting the intervention and getting enthusiastic about their maths because they know how much progress they're making, even though they're behind where they normally would be, they get a real buzz out of this. They're ready to have a go at normal revision classes with the concept sheets and try and make progress with those. You know, your concept sheets where you've got this question 1 is always one topic, question 2 is always the next, and so on. And you can set those as homework. And another great revision tool is Tagtivate. I have an interview with Bryn Llewellyn, who designed it. It's running around the yard, doing maths activities, getting fit, and integrating that into your PE. Right, I don't want to keep this live stream going on too long because I know how busy you are. Hope it's been of some use. You are amazing. If you are still standing, if you're in bed with COVID, you're still amazing. It's going to be okay. But these children, they need to get the foundations in maths in place before they go to big school. So hopefully there's some ideas in this that will help you as you puzzle out how to do that. Because the last thing we want is you having to do that after their SATs. We want to be free to go on trips and have all the normal fun that a Year 6 class should have. If you want to find me, you can comment here. I'm in my Facebook group, which is Expert Primary Maths Teaching, where all the free worksheets are. On LinkedIn, I've got Math Education, Math Culture. It's probably not relevant to Year 6 teachers. But take care. Lots of love. See you next week if you've got questions. Bye for now.